I want to be mindful of everybody's, we'll add in one more. All right. Fantastic. All right, so we'll get started. Good morning / afternoon. Oh, I'm going to just keep admitting people. Hopefully I'm not forgetting about people, and I'll try to keep paying attention for people that are in the waiting room. But good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. Welcome to the second semester of PepTaLKS. So my name is Justine Dixon. I'm the Grand Vice President for Collegiates for Lambda Kappa Sigma. With me, I have a few different guests. I'll have them introduce themselves in a minute. And today's PepTaLKS is going to be centered around recruitment, especially, you know, in the, you know, I guess prior to or in the middle of some of you doing spring recruitment. Again, some of you have done fall recruitment. Some of you are new to doing spring recruitment, especially everybody is probably new to doing virtual recruitment during a pandemic. So we're going to have a few different chapters kind of talk a little bit about their experience and what went really well, what were some challenges that they faced, and at the end we're going to make sure that there's going to be some time for you to ask some questions, maybe get some advice on ideas, and hopefully you all can learn from each other a little bit, pick up some ideas. I know when we had some of these planning meetings, even the chapters that are involved here kind of learn some stuff from each other for their future recruitment efforts. So I'm going to have each of them kind of introduce themselves. We'll start with Katie and Ashlyn can introduce themselves first, and then we'll kind of move down. So you just introduce who you are, what chapters you're from, and your position, and I guess your year in school.
Hi, I'll go first. I'm Katie. I am a PY2 at Duquesne University, which is Untitled Chapter, and me and Ashlyn, we're the new member coordinators.
And hi, I'm Ashlyn, also PY2, same as Katie.
Got it, Emma and Caroline.
Hi, so my name's Emma. I'm a P1 and I was a P&M coordinator for Xi.
And my name is Caroline. I am Emma's co-P&M coordinator for the Xi chapter, and yeah.
Thanks. And Amanda.
Hi, my name's Amanda. I'm a P2 at University of Kentucky, which is Alpha Nu chapter, and I'm president of the chapter this year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All righty. So talk kind of a little bit of, I'll call them objectives. It's really just in general what we're going to talk about. So we're going to hear a little bit about our chapters. Like I mentioned, what went well, what was challenging, what happened maybe that you didn't expect, and what lessons that they learned. And like I mentioned before, answer some questions from the other chapters. We do recognize, you know, with virtual recruitment, it has a lot of differences, very different from how you were previously doing recruitment and orientation efforts. What we want to make sure that you're doing is still focusing on Lambda Kappa Sigma as a whole and what it's about and conveying that message virtually. It may require a lot more planning and maybe some more creativity and adjustment from some of the traditions that maybe your chapter was doing previously. As far as the importance when it comes to recruitment, we want to make sure that you're making connections with the potential new members. We want you to get to know them. We want them to get to know you. We want them to understand what LKS is and get them to know your chapter and even why you chose LKS. It's still all very important. We want to make sure that you highlight those. Some chapters have created videos that show what it's like to be a member of LKS, both virtually and maybe even pre-COVID or pre-pandemic. And what it's like and what it means to be a Lamb for Life is also important, because we know that, I know it feels like we can't get out of this pandemic situation. However, we know that there is life, there was life before and there will be life after a pandemic as well. This is just a list of some virtual recruitment ideas that I've collected from some of the chapters that I've seen come through there from their region supervisor monthly calls. So I've seen some chapters do virtual escape rooms, group exercise classes, cooking classes over Zoom, playing Among Us, which that's a new one I tried. It's challenging. Book club, which I know if you haven't, LKS itself has a book club. A lot of the alumni are in there, so you're more than welcome to join that too, but you could have a chapter-wide one too. Netflix watch party, a murder mystery where you could dress up. Guest baby photos, do a flower arranging class over Zoom, getting to know the sisters with Kahoot, show and tell, renting out a movie theater for socially distanced movie watching. I think it's about $99 to rent out the whole theater. Pen pals, tie-dyeing, two truths and a lie, PowerPoint, and bracelet making or some other kind of craft. So those are just some ideas in case any of those are of interest to you. Obviously not an exhaustive list of things, but we've had some questions as well about dues for spring recruitment and some kind of questions about prorating those dues. So I just also wanted to remind and kind of review what it looks like for dues for spring, since I know some of you may be doing spring recruitment for the first time. So when somebody joins during the second half of the school year, they have to pay the initiation fee, which is $125. 25 of that 125 goes to insurance. And then in the fall, which is November, they end up paying their annual dues, which is $100. 25 of that is for insurance plus any chapter dues. So there's no prorating of dues just because they joined halfway through the year, but they do get to go to convention for that year. So you can kind of think of it too as being as paying for the school year rather than the calendar year too. So if you have any questions about that, we've got, Aaron's on as well. We can answer any questions that you have, but that's as clear and as much as I understand. A couple other virtual practices, what to do, what not to do. I guess it's more what to do for the most part, trying to keep it positive. Designing a chapter virtual background for all current members to use. I think a couple of the chapters today can kind of mention that this may or may not work for you, maybe depending on the color background. It may not work for your face, it may blend in with your face is what it sounded like. So maybe it's specific to the color and the background. Maybe having a specific dress code or something that you all wear similar, whether it's a plain black or an LKS shirt, something that makes you all look professional and similar. Sorry about that. Having good lighting, ramping up your social media. This is a great time. Other people are going to be looking at your social media. And on the same note, updating your website. I've seen a handful of chapter websites that haven't been updated in years. But if you're a new member or potential new member looking to join something and you look at a chapter's LKS website to try to contact somebody to reach out to join, and the person to reach out to join is not the current potential new member coordinator or new member orientation coordinator, because it's the person from 3 years ago, it's not gonna turn out well for you or for them, and they may lose interest. The other thing was, if you have the option to utilize breakout rooms, seems to have worked fairly well for a lot of the chapters that we'll talk about today. So if you have that option to use breakout rooms, at least in Zoom, I don't know if you guys have other options, if you've got Microsoft Teams or other things that you can use, how to do that. But I know at Zoom, if you have the option for breakout rooms, that should work out nicely. So it's not one large group. All right, so we're gonna kind of start talking a little bit about some of the successes that some of the chapters have. We'll kind of go chapter by chapter for our guests, and they'll talk about some of their successes, and then we'll move into challenges, okay? So we'll start with Katie and Ashlyn. I'm sorry, it says Ashley, my fault. Ashlyn, for Tal, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, in order to get initially our word out there, we did a lot of email blasts through the school, which a lot of girls were really receptive to. The recruitment committee was really the head of this. I don't know how other chapters really work, but we have committee heads that sometimes help executive positions. So ours is the recruitment committee. They get to see what we do, plus they get to interact with the girls too and help us in any way we can, because it can sometimes be overwhelming. But basically she's kind of like the head of like sending out all kind of organizational details. She'll send them in the morning and she'll get the word out that way. So we had a little video that we had made with the recruitment committee and the media committee heading that also. They did a little combination, and they created this video to basically say what LKS stands for, say its 5 core values so that people kind of knew where it was. we posted this on our Duquesne link. It was on our Blackboard site, our webpage that we had, and we also sent that out in the emails too, so they can kind of get a more warmth feel of what we're all about. And then just last semester, we started this new coffee date idea, which after the girls, we have formal recruitment. So the girls are mandatory to come and attend to learn about LKS so that we know a head count of how many we're going to have at induction. And there's usually time in between formal recruitment and induction. So we have the opportunity for girls, if they want, to sign up for these coffee dates. They get the opportunity to meet a sister one-on-one. It can be a potential big, it can be a fifth-year sister, somebody that they don't really get to interact with on a normal basis, get to make connections that way. We have a budget that's good enough where we can fund these girls $5 and kind of treat them to Starbucks. And it also gives them an opportunity to meet a potential big. We try to give priority to those over anybody else. And then we, in our bylaws at TAL, have dinner and study hours. And we weren't really sure how to do this online this semester because we normally go in person and do dinner at Chick-fil-A and Cinco is what they call it, and then we go and talk to each other after and do kind of one-on-one interviews. So we kind of came up with found this new website called Icebreaker, and I'll share my screen so I can kind of show you what it is all about. So basically how we have it here is it's LKS study hours. We send this out to the whole chapters that they have it at their disposal, and girls will sign up for a day to come so it's not overwhelming. And then we have these little games. So we have a list of these games, and then you would go and enter your name. So I'll just enter my name like I'm entering in one. And you can click whether you're a new member or a sister. So that way, whenever we do the matching, how you initially set it up is that a new member will get paired with a sister currently. So you click join event, and then you allow camera and mic access. And yes, you can see yourself. Got it. And then, as you can see, we do a lot of talking. I update them on what's going on, what we're gonna do if we're waiting for people. You have the option in this corner over here to open the stage and play like a YouTube video, or if you want to broadcast yourself and have like a FaceTime message to everybody there, you can do that too. So it's kind of like a different version of Zoom, but more personalized in a way, because breakout rooms will be already pre-made for you instead of you going through and making your own. But this nice to meet you game, as you can see, like we have questions set up this way, like tell me about the story, about your name, these kinds of things. Let me X out of there. And then we have LKS and pharmacy questions. This is just someone wanting to start a random conversation with them about anything. Doesn't have to be that kind of thing. And then there's food questions, and then nostalgia, and then stress and self-care check-in. So I thought that was a really cute way to interact with these girls. Like the stress and self-care kind of like reflected on your week and how it's going and what you're going to be doing. And it was nice for sisters to kind of give advice to the new members about what's ahead and how they cope with school being so stressful and that kind of thing. So I thought that was a really cool touch that we added, but those were some of our good successes that we had.
Can I ask you a quick question, Ashlyn? It said in the corner that you could have up to 40 members, and then after that you have to upgrade to pro. So I know you guys are a large chapter. I know Zai is a large chapter. We have some very large chapters. So do you guys just limit it to 40 people? Do you have multiple going?
We've never actually hit that limit.
Okay.
Which is surprising. I think we did last semester, we had 22 new members. And then I think we did limit it to 15 sisters coming to each one. So that's kind of how we did it, because we have so many days that we can kind of spread it out and make sure that we had enough people to pair them with. And we've never hit that limit, but I could see it potentially being an issue. And I mean, if we had to upgrade to the pro and needed that extra space, I'm sure we could find room in the budget to add.
But it's free for up to 40 people.
Yes. Yeah, we
Awesome.
didn't pay for this.
Cool. I think that's a great option. definitely different, and seems like it's engaging.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Let me switch back over here. I fixed your name too. It was really bothering me.
That's okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. All right. So we're going to move on to Emma and Caroline from Xi.
Hi. Okay. So our first big point for getting a successful kind of PNM season was our Facebook group. So at the beginning of the year, we always create a Facebook group for all of the PNMs. This makes it easy so that we have all of our information for them in one space. And then it makes it easy in case somebody like say doesn't want to continue with it, we can remove them and then we just keep everyone and then we just continue with that until they're initiated. So that's really helpful. So what we would do is we would post in Facebook groups in our College of Pharmacy. So we do have a College of Pharmacy page for each class. So we just would post in those and invite the girls to the PNM group, which got a lot of girls involved even in the summer. So that was really a great way to get girls, just get the word out.
Yeah. So then our next point that we just wanted to talk about, we were able to utilize the breakout rooms we have a event called speed dating. And I know the other chapters also have this event, it sounds like. So we were able to hold on to that even during this virtual recruitment season. It was a little bit stressful, I will say that, because we did have almost 30 PNMs that we were trying to rotate and keep the current sisters in one room while rotating only the PNMs. So it was a little bit difficult, but overall it actually worked out very well. They all got to meet not one-on-one, but kind of like 3-on-3 type of thing with potential bigs and just older sisters, and just kind of do like getting to know you questions, icebreakers, things like that. So that was successful.
So then sister dates. So this is something that our chapter, we really love every season. So what we did was we made it so that the girls could choose whether or not they wanted to go on sister dates in person or if they wanted to do them over Zoom. This kind of made it so that they could make their own decision with that. Obviously they had to keep it to like the one person that they were going on a date with. But this made it kind of like a nice little thing where they could actually build a relationship with another person, so they could find their big.
Yep. So that obviously made big little pairing like much easier for us. And then we really wanted to highlight that following up with people is super important when you're recruiting virtually, because the girls, a lot of them had only online classes and they're really craving like somebody to just reach out to them and show that, you know, we noticed that maybe they joined the Facebook page but didn't come to the first meeting, and things like that. So really important that we were able to take attendance at meetings and then reach out and say, hey, we didn't see you. Are you still interested? And then if they were interested, but maybe there was some kind of barrier to them coming to the meetings or participating or something, working with them to just do our best to keep them sticking with it, because we wanted as many people to join as possible, and we just wanted to make it as easy as possible for them to join and stick with it.
Yep. And then just going off of Caroline's point, so with the follow-up, even following up with them, it's also really important just to build that relationship with them. Just let them know that we're here, whether it's for, you know, school, any questions they have. We were always a resource to them. And I think that's really important because right now, because of the situation that we're in with the pandemic, a lot of them are kind of struggling to have that kind of social aspect. So we still want to try to provide that as much as we can. So again, like she said, we would follow up with them, provide our phone number, anything like that, if they had any questions, and just be a resource.
Yep. And then our last point. So this is something that actually like Emma started at the PNM meetings that I just thought was such a good idea. So at our weekly chapter meetings, we will sometimes do what's called Black Sheep of the Week. So it's just like when somebody nominates themselves to just like share an embarrassing moment or something funny that happened to them, like, oh, I tripped during my lab or something like that, just something silly. And you nominate yourself. We obviously don't want to embarrass anybody. But so Emma started doing that at the PNM meetings and just kind of starting off and being like, did anything embarrassing or funny happen to you? And to break the ice, like we would always start off and participate and kind of put ourselves in their shoes. And that was super successful. Like that was when the girls came out of their shells the most. They were just excited to be like, oh my gosh, like this happened to me this week. And they would actually unmute themselves and talk to each other and talk to us. And it was just really exciting because I think we've all had those situations this past fall where you're kind of talking to a bunch of muted screens. So it was really nice when they would come out of their comfort shells and just participate in that. It was fun.
Absolutely. I love the black sheep. I think it totally just kind of levels the playing field for everyone. So I think that that's a great idea, as long as you're not forcing them to say anything. And I think especially starting off the conversation with what happened to you is great to get them to kind of open up a little bit. All right, and Amanda.
All right, so for our virtual recruitment this year, we tried to put a big emphasis on thinking about the timing of our events as well as kind of how we formatted them. So to start with timing, we want to get the word out early, kind of what LKS is all about, what our chapter has to offer, both in normal years as well as during the pandemic. So over the summer, I put together a little video kind of explaining, similar as some other chapters said, the core values, what we're all about, some of our more hallmark events. And then we sent that to the school to put on their class-wide Canvas page. So at our school, how you have on Canvas different course shells, we have a shell for each cohort of students as well. So that was posted on there so that the incoming students could kind of look that over the summer, kind of get an idea of what orgs were out there and what we would have to offer. And then we followed that up by the first week of school, go ahead and getting the word out about formal recruitment. To do this, similar to Xi chapter, we used their class-wide Facebook page. And there we posted, information about each event, the Zoom links, reminders the day of, that kind of thing. And I think that helped a lot just because I know at our school, we kind of had email overload going into the semester with every single professor sending updates on, the pandemic and what's going on, all the orgs. So we thought, people are generally on their phone most of the day. So that would help a little bit having to see that on Facebook rather than in your email inbox. We also kind of thought about when we wanted to have our formal recruitment. We, looking back, our exec board thought about our own experience the year prior, and we kind of realized having it the first week of school was kind of overwhelming. And going into this, we thought, this year is going to be extra overwhelming for everyone, having not had the opportunity to meet people at orientation, not really knowing what to expect from the year. So we moved our formal recruitment back to the second week of school. And I think this helped immensely because all the other orgs kept theirs to the first week. So it gave people more time to come to our events, I think. And also, they felt less overwhelmed. They felt less Zoom fatigue that week from us. So I think that was also important to kind of consider the timing of your events and when you want to have those. The next emphasis we kind of thought about was the formatting. So obviously we had to do all virtual, but we thought about the best ways to kind of inform the potential new members and get them to start getting to know each other. Because as I said, they didn't have that opportunity during orientation to meet other students, both in their class and other classes. So to do this, we started with an informational meeting, which we traditionally have, but we expanded on this to talk about both what to expect from a normal year of LKS, as well as, concrete plans for this year. Because we thought about someone's not going to want to join an organization who says, we're not sure what we're doing this year. So it's better to kind of have at least a bare minimum that you're willing to provide. And you can say, we're going to provide at least 2 social events every month for you to come to, or, 1 service event. So just kind of some concrete thing that they can hold on to and know what they're getting into. So that helped a lot, as well as we kind of focused on mentorship at this meeting because, I feel like normal years, you get a lot of interaction with older students at your college, just in passing in the hallway, kind of asking for advice off the cuff when you see them. And we are losing out on that this year because our school, each class has a different day of the week that they're in the building. So you really never run into anybody. So we put a big focus on the mentorship we could provide, you know, our willingness to answer any questions, whether they ended up joining or not. And I think that helped as well because as other chapters were saying, you know, that's what they really want, is they want that social connection and to get to know people who can offer that kind of advice. We additionally did a little panel where we had our new members, or our returning members, sorry, answer different questions about, you know, why they joined LCAS, their favorite memories, just to make it a little more personal. And so it wasn't, you know, just me talking about my opinions on LCAS. So they could kind of see that it was the general consensus that, you know, everyone loved being in the fraternity. We followed this up with a couple different more social fun events. And for these, we utilized breakout rooms every time. And we did both one-on-one breakout rooms as well as groups, because thinking about it, we know some people are more comfortable in a more group setting coming out of their shell versus, you know, meeting up with someone you don't know in a breakout room and having to just talk. So we try to go both routes so that everyone could kind of have an event where they felt really comfortable at. And to do this, we did trivia night. So that was kind of group teams and they could compete for, it was just like random trivia that had nothing to do with pharmacy, nothing to do with LCAS, just, you know, random fun facts that you know. And then we also did the sister speed dating, similar to Xi chapter. And that was really fun. We had a similar challenge, trying to make sure we matched people up with different people every time and that we kept it to returning members with potential new members. But I think overall it was a success. You know, it was lots of fun get to know you questions, like would you rathers, what would you take to a deserted island with you? Just all sorts of stuff to kind of get you thinking and kind of laughing together. So I think that was nice, giving the different opportunities to get to know people in different settings so that kind of everyone had an event where they felt like they could come to.
So much. So yeah, I think, you know, the general theme I hear is kind of lots of variety, maybe kind of reworking some of your previous stuff to do a little bit more, you know, moving it to a more virtual setting. Breakout rooms sound like they're working a lot. The kind of what previously maybe were like sister dates at a coffee shop have now moved to maybe more breakout rooms or the Icebreaker website, which I think is a great option as well. But, you know, don't forget to make sure that the, you know, incoming or potential new members are understanding why you joined, what made you interested in LKS, and that is going to help, you know, hopefully attract them as well. So we're going to move. Obviously, this had challenges, of course, which I know that some of you are probably here for the most. So we're going to go back to Katie and Ashlyn. We'll talk about some of the challenges that they had with their recruitment and some of the lessons that they learned.
Hi, so yeah, definitely challenges with the virtual recruitment. So I think one major thing was trying to keep up with chapter traditions, whether that be just me and Ashlyn kind of missing out on the connection that we get with the new members. And normally it's super rewarding, it's a lot of fun, and just kind of dealing with the fact that that wasn't going to happen. And then also that connection that they have, being in person and doing the events we normally do. You know, you have to admit that you're not going to be able to make everything into a virtual format. So some of this stuff you're really going to have to get creative and come up with new things, like with the Icebreaker website. Yeah, we lost out on the tradition of eating Chick-fil-A together, but we still got to find a way to interact with them and keep them engaged. So you kind of have to really be creative, and instead of trying to find even like a substitute, just try to do something different instead. Normally at our formal recruitment event, we always do like a fun little cupcake activity. And we tried so hard. We were like, okay, we're gonna do like just prepackaged cupcakes and they can come pick them up and it'll be socially distanced. And as much as you can sit there and try to make things COVID friendly, we just had to admit, like, okay, we can't. It's not going to work with the guidelines of the university. We had people. Duquesne actually has an online pharmacy program, so we had a girl who was always online, not even in like the typical pharmacy, just doing virtual school. So some things you just have to be okay with losing that tradition and trying to just find other things that these girls will remember looking back when they joined, instead of us looking back and saying, oh, I remember the little lamb cupcakes, just trying to give them something else that they can hold on to. Another big challenge we had was big little speed dating. So this was sort of after the recruitment process. We do speed dating to match up the new members with their bigs. And normally we do this in person, and you get 1 minute in order to go around, and it just wasn't enough time. The breakout rooms, matching one-on-one, it was difficult to get everybody like rotating around, and Ashlyn made this incredible like spreadsheet. We were psycho trying to figure out how to do this. And I mean, it happened, and it was everybody got to know everybody and it worked, but it definitely wasn't ideal, challenging for sure. But I think something we learned from it was just to give them more time if the event ends up taking longer than we want it to, and it's 11 p.m. and everyone's tired. Like, I guess that is what it is. And just learn to sort of keep going with it. Hopefully this semester or even next year, we'll be able to do some things in person and go back to that. But yeah, I'd say those were our biggest challenges, as well as just we really wanted to emphasize to the girls that we want them to still get out of this what LKS is about, the connections you're going to make, that we're there for them, and getting them to interact with us in return, I think was sort of a challenge as well. On Zoom, it's hard to force them to talk to you. So that was something that was a challenge as well.
Thanks so much. Bounce back to Emma and Caroline for Zai.
Okay, so we also kind of had similar kind of struggles. So the first one, like Katie had mentioned as well, so trying to keep up with chapter traditions. We also had a lot of things that we were thinking about trying to make in person, and then we just realized it wasn't going to work out. So we had to kind of be creative and come up with our own ideas. So after, coming up with those, they were successful, but you kind of have to get that ball rolling and get some creative ideas.
Yeah, and then we definitely felt challenged by just trying to keep the interest of the girls, because at the end of the day, in like weekly meetings especially, there was over 20 of them and 2 of us, and we really wanted them to understand the like fundamentals of LKS and what makes it a great organization, and like where we stand on that and everything. But also we wanted them to enjoy their experience. Like it was impossible for us to completely replicate the experience that we had when we were PNMs, of just being physically with new people and seeing people at the meetings that they end up being familiar faces to you, whereas they were just seeing each other's screens. And so that was tough, but just keeping our interest and trying to make it like more interactive, less of a lecture style, because we didn't want them to feel like it was just another like thing on their to-do list, another Zoom to attend, almost like a class. So we did our best to get them out of their shells a little bit and interact with us.
Yeah, so then the next thing that goes along with that, so the participation during orientation. So to start off, it can be pretty rough when they're just coming on for the first time and they don't know each other, and they're not very comfortable unmuting. That can be kind of an obstacle. So we tried our best to kind of, have them introduce themselves at the beginning, get some icebreakers in, and just try to encourage them to unmute, which with our Black Sheep of the Week, that's kind of like what we were trying to do there, is at least get them comfortable to unmute. So then when we are doing the orientation slides, they kind of feel comfortable to unmute. And by the end, we did have a lot of girls that were comfortable with that, so it made it much easier.
Awesome. And then lastly, we'll move to Amanda.
All right, so y'all can probably tell there's a little bit of a theme going on here with trying to keep up with chapter traditions, the Zoom fatigue. It can all be a huge challenge. I won't, completely go over all those again, but the biggest thing I can say about keeping up with chapter traditions is to really prioritize what events you want to really try hard to get in person and, figure out a workaround for, and which ones are less important, because you're not going to be able to get all of them in person. So you got to think about, if you could pick even just one, what you think will leave the biggest impact on your new members. So for us, that was Big Little. So we just completely, decided recruitment would be all online. We're not going to struggle with that and, try to get all these events approved in the first week of school and work around that. We'd rather have a nice Big Little that they can all remember. So it's important, you're going to have to lose some of those, but trying to prioritize, and hopefully you can keep a couple of them going. And then as far as Zoom fatigue, keep in mind you're going to have to be flexible, and this kind of goes with the next bullet point as well. Sometimes you might just not have attendance at events, and it could be, everyone's tired after a long day of class and they've just, decided I can't get on tonight, I'm exhausted. And for us, that was our Friday event that we had our low attendance at, and that made complete sense, after 2 full weeks of school, after a long summer break of everyone enjoying doing nothing, they were not in it to get on Zoom and everyone have a great time, and totally understandable. And when it comes to that, you need to remain flexible, and you might not be able to do the event you planned. So we planned on doing kind of a Pictionary game by sharing our screens on our iPads and drawing that way. And we just realized with the numbers that it wasn't going to happen. It was going to be a little awkward playing with such small numbers and such small teams. So you kind of have to be able to pivot. And what we ended up doing even was just spending an hour, everybody chatting, talking about their week. We were able to hear some of the feedback from the new members about their professors, how they transitioned to online learning, which was interesting for us, and kind of give them suggestions on how to plan for those professors' tests, what their quizzes are like, what to expect from different aspects of our college. So always keep in mind, maybe have a backup plan, or at least be prepared to switch things around, because with virtual recruitment, it's just, you can't plan for everything. And that's really important to remember. And you have to be willing to kind of let some of those plans go if you realize they're not going to work out in the moment.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. I'm going to do a little kind of summary slide I put in the chat. We'll get to questions in a couple minutes. If you have a kind of question that you'd rather ask more anonymously, feel free to send it to me directly, and I can ask the group. Otherwise, we'll get to a point where you can kind of turn on your camera and ask, or you can write it in the chat if you're unable to do so. But in summary, kind of, virtual recruitment comes with a new set of challenges. There are obviously many ways to continue to hold virtual recruitment in a virtual world, and it's really important. Positive attitudes, adjusting to your chapter's traditions, and utilizing new technology will be important to help you do that to be successful. We want all potentially interested LKS to have a chance to join, and you can always reach out to other chapters, whether that's through your region supervisor in your region, or even having your region supervisor maybe putting you in touch with another region or another chapter that is maybe of similar size or something like that to you. Erin, are you around? Did you want to also mention something or no?
I'm good for now.
Okay.
I can wait till questions.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll open it up to questions. See if I'll stop sharing this. Oh, actually, hold on. One more thing. Yes, what questions you have. And also, I'm going to advertise the next Pep Talks is March 6th at 12 p.m. to talk about Project Hope, the Educational Trust, Campaign for Progress, essentially what are all those things, and talk about fundraising during a pandemic. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now and we'll open it up for any questions. We will send all this out to the chapter leaders so you guys can share this with other people. Maybe you guys don't have any questions. Maybe you guys are totally cool. If you have questions, you can video yourself. You did something now I can't see everybody. Oh, there we go. You guys must have just answered all of the questions. All right, thank you, Macy. So Macy says, my chapter has had a really hard time reaching out to undergraduate students because many of our members are older and they don't have classes in common. How would you suggest reaching out to students that we may not interact with on our own or may not know about LKS?
I'll kind of just say, I don't know if anybody else has another answer, but one thing that we do is go into classes. So our recruitment committee normally does this where they'll go into like the general chemistry class, because we also recruit like the pre-professionals. And so the freshmen, they'll go into their general chemistry class or biology or whatever. And even on Zoom, we got permission from the professor to just pop into their Zoom meeting and give just like a quick, LKS is a pharmacy fraternity. Even if you're a pre-professional, you can join, blah, blah, blah. Normally in person, we like hand them out like a little slip with our information on it. Obviously we can't do that, but they'll just like type in the chat, like, here's our Instagram, here's our website. If you have any questions, let us know. Like, our first recruitment event is on this date and this time. So sort of going into those classes has helped. I think another thing that we did, really just starting this year to kind of get more people like thinking about LKS, is we kind of just creeped on Instagram, like just searching, like if the class has an Instagram page, like class of, I think it's like 2026 now or something. It's insane. It makes me feel old, but just going onto that Instagram page and like looking at who follows it and like following all of them. Even on like my account, we have our LKS Instagram page. They'll go follow it. So these people see me, they're like, oh, who's Katie Grinnell? And then they'll see LKS in my bio, and basically all my Instagram feed is just like LKS pictures, and even maybe messaging them to try to get them interested, just let them know what it is. When I post on my story, if they follow me back with our recruitment events, they'll see it on my story and hopefully come out. So just things like that. I think I've helped get people's attention.
I was going to say, it's another push to make sure that your websites are updated and maybe even appropriately linked to your pharmacy school's website. So a lot of times they'll have links to all the different organizations for the School of Pharmacy. And so if you've got a younger member trying to look on some way to get engaged prior to actually like getting into the School of Pharmacy, or, you know, before their real pharmacy school classes start, you know, this is an option. Not all organizations allow younger, you know, more undergraduate students. So the fact that LKS does allow that, and maybe your chapter doesn't currently, but maybe they can start opening up to engage younger students. I think that that's a great option, great for mentorship as well, and tutoring and whatever else. Somebody else want to add in? I can't remember. Great question, Macy. Any other questions? Anyone doing spring recruitment for the first time and they usually do fall recruitment, they totally skipped it and they're hoping to really kick butt with the spring recruitment? I know there's some chapters that did fall recruitment and are also doing spring recruitment, and there's some chapters that do that anyways. But because of virtual recruitment, some people are doing that for the first time this year. So hopefully there are some of the things that you learned today that you can bring forward into this year. Hopefully the new member orientation guide with some of those virtual suggestions can help you too when it comes to the actual orientation. But we know we're kind of focusing more on getting the people to the point of orientation. So. Well, we won't harp on this anymore. Erin, anything else you want to add in? Very good.
I don't think so. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. We won't harp on it anymore. If you guys have any questions, you can always send me an email, but thank you so much to our guests, and I appreciate all of your suggestions. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. And like I said, I will send out this recording to the chapter officers, and then that way they can share it with anybody else that is interested. Alrighty. And hopefully we'll see some of you again next month. Bye everyone. Have a great day, great weekend. Best of luck in your recruitment efforts. Nice.